Hi, everybody. I'm back again, and I'm here with another chapter. For those of you who are just tuning in, I am currently reading a bunch of my dad's novels. This time, I am reading *The Guardian of the Sword*. It's an alternate manuscript. I've already published. Let me take a look at that blue book right there. Yeah, that's this one. Well, not this particular one. That's the 1977 version. This is the 1982 version. And I'm just trying to see which one's different, like how different they are, and whether I should combine the two manuscripts and re release it, or if I should put out an alternate video, or sorry, an alternate novel. um, you may hear somebody in the background. I have an animal who is very distraught and has decided she wants to make herself known. So, uh, yeah. Okay. So, for those of you who are also just tuning in, I'm currently on chapter 20. So, just so you're aware, this is the 20th chapter. So, there is 19 other chapters before that. So, you may want to go back and listen to past broadcasts, watch, that sort of thing, in order to get caught up. And then this will be available as well as also a past broadcast for you on Twitch and a VOD for those of you on YouTube. Okay, so without further ado, I'm just going to dive right on in. This is chapter 20 of Guardian of the Sword. Thank you, Artemis. Hardinian had an ill name. When Chaldan raised his revolt, Corel had held in Hardinian, his capital, until it was clear that the local people were on the side of the rebels. He withdrew to the tiny village of Fuildon and was permitted the time to reorganize his forces by the fact that Chaldan's men, against orders, paused to loot and burn Hardinian. This act turned many against Chaldan, which he felt sorely at the final battle by Jarth Cliff. Although Hardinian was rebuilt and indeed regained much of its old glory, Corel declared Fuildon to be his new capital, and bear its name. And its name became, through constant popular use, the city of Corel. And this is The History of Alsben by Horrigan. The garrison within Hardinian was guessed to be little more than 500, but the forces to the south numbered almost 3,000. Another 3,000 had gone northward to meet Fedrun, and Connell could therefore expect little help from him immediately. Fedrun must almost certainly withdraw back into his hills, being outnumbered by about 2 to 1, and Corel must therefore retreat as well. The force to the south was, by all reports, expected to be at Hardinian within 3 days. It was said, Rourke declared, that there were 2,000 Hygerians between Fedrun's hold and Hardinian. How, then, did they come to be upwards of 6,000? Perhaps someone miscounted, Connell answered. But the question to be asked is this: do we attack Hardinian or retreat? Ordinarily, declared Rourke, I would say retreat. Except, interrupted Connell, that if we go up the main road, we are caught between two forces, each of which outnumbers us. If we go up the old track on which we have come, they will be able to harass our rear all the way, and it'll be easy for them to send word to the other force to cut us off. So I had thought also, said Rorik. It seems that there is one other choice. We can take Hardinian and hold it until Fedrun can relieve us. It is almost certain that once they find that we have taken the city, the Hygerians will gather against us, leaving Fedron almost a free hand in the north. Our 2,000 against their 6,000? You believe it possible? I believe we could make it possible. See, we have driven them from the mountains so swiftly that they are still surprised. We have come over the mountains ourselves by a pass of which they knew nothing. We are now in the midst of territory which they still feel they hold, and that fact will make them think and wonder what our plan is. That in itself may give us a day or two. A messenger must go to Fedrin at once, then informing him of our intention and telling him what we wish to do. Of course. And one more thing. How may we take the city swiftly before the arm to the south of us comes up? Beating on the walls with our fists will not suffice. No, that is quite true. Let us speak to the old one. It was he that thought of the stone throwing engines, and perhaps he will have some further ideas. It is a pity I did not bring back any of that rock melting liquid from the barrier in the pass. When the old one was told the problem, he said, I think that an engine larger than those we already have made will suffice, especially if there is a weak point in the wall. Have some work crews gathered, if you will, while I take a few of my colleagues to see to the rest. By evening, the new catapult was ready. It was very large, and it was powered by a large box at the end of the throwing beam, which, when the machine was situated, would be filled with rocks and earth. The weight of this, swinging the throwing arm through a long arc, which would cast rocks to great distances. The range and the size of the missiles depended on the weight of the box. It was necessary, though, to find the strongest wood to build the machine, particularly the throwing arm and bar against which the throwing arm ended its arc, lest the whole thing beat itself to pieces during the first few casts. The old one, the old one led Connell and Rourke out to show them the place where it was intended that they should attack the wall. Mark that patch where the stonework is a little paler. There, the wall is badly cracked within. It has nothing to do with the color, save that it'll make a good aiming point. I would be happier had we time and material to make 2 or more catapults for this task. But even for this one, we shall find ourselves hauling large stones from long distances before we are done. I have taken the authority to set men and horses to hauling up stones already. Have you any idea what size of a gap you'll be able to make? Asked Rourke. The old one shrugged. My lord, I could throw 2 dice, and the numbers on their faces. Add the numbers on their faces, and that answer would be as correct as any I might gain by another method. It depends on so many things. What are the weights of the stones we will use? How often will we take a stone so light that it flies over the wall, or one so heavy that it does not even reach the wall? And how weak is the wall? Let us say that, with good fortune, we will make a gap of 50 feet. With less luck, we may only have 5 feet. Does that help you? Connell chuckled. Old one, we know your business less well than you know ours. We will trust you and your machine. Is there any likelihood of our having a gap made by mid-morning tomorrow? If powers smile, yes. You will not want too large a breach, since you yourselves will be defending the city for some days. Quite true. When you have made this gap for us, perhaps you could put your mind to inventing ways whereby the effect of the gap may be lessened once we are defending the city. The old one smiled a little. Yes, that has been on my mind. It was evening, and around several hundred campfires and around several hundred campfires, the men of Alspan ate, rested, gossiped, boasted, and sang. Rourke and Connell stood near the large catapult with the old one, watching as several men strained at the winch which hauled the throwing arm downward. At the same time, others were manhandling a large rock toward it. The sling at the end of the arm was spread on the ground. The rock was levered into it, and everyone stood back. A man heaved on a light line attached to the mechanism which held the arm down, and it came free. The arm moved so swiftly that it was invisible in the last portion of its stroke. Then, a moment later, they saw the impact of the stone at the edge of the light patch on the wall. The men cheered and at once leaped to prepare for another shot. The old one looked at the prince and the guardian. "We have begun. We can continue this whole night and expect to have some results by daylight." "In the darkness? How will you see?" "Our stones are generally of similar weight, and they will mostly travel the same distance, striking in the same general area. So long as we keep the machine and in its present position, we need not fear missing the target more than a few times. And the noise of it may serve to keep the Hygerians awake and alert at night, to the detriment of their battle skill tomorrow." As their discussion continued on this and other matters, the men at the catapult suddenly launched their second stone. This struck just a few feet above the previous one. "Not much damage," declared Connell. "Only a few chips of stone and a handful of dust." "It is still too soon for visible results. Come again at dawn, my lord, and I am sure you will be happier." Later, as the prince and guardian strolled away, Rourke said, "I will take the warriors through the gap to open the gate." Connell shook his head. "Not this time, my friend. Your warriors open the gates of Ordan and those of Aventir. Shall the king hold back while there are others risk their lives to give him back his kingdom? I will take 200 men through the gap, and you will have the others ready to come through when the gate is opened." Rourke would have protested, but he could see they would do little good in the face of the prince's pride. Instead, he merely said, "So shall it be then. A good night to you, Connell, and we shall meet in the morning." Baron was with the armorer, overseeing the patch of his war shirt where the rings had worn dangerously smooth. "Baron, the prince will lead the attack into the city tomorrow. Find Artir and see to it that 10 good men are sent to stay with him at all times. We can afford to lose a battle, but we cannot afford to lose the prince." "I will send Dolan along. He is among the best of our young men, and I have marked him to take my place when the time comes." Smiling, Rourke shook his head. "I fear that this task is not ours, Baron. Connell is too likely to recognize any of the warriors, and I fear what his pride might lead him to do if we are regarding him like a child." Baran smiled. "It shall be done, my lord." As Rourke walked away, he heard a song coming from one of the many campfires, which brought serious thoughts to his mind. "Blackbird sings on the broken branch. The wind of the night is chill. I rest alone before my sword, alone on the side of the hill. The rings of Thomel were mine to give. I would give with Andrithal's stone, or catch the moon with silver cords, to be with my love alone." Okay, and that is everything for tonight. So, yeah, another quick story for tonight. But I will talk to you all again very soon. So, thank you everybody for tuning in, and have a good night.